we all come from women.
Yeah, yeah.
We can't exist without women, do you know what I mean?
Usually we cover content that is like empowering for women and you can do anything. So a bit of a different vibe today, but I think themes that are actually equally important in the conversation about women, what it is to grow up as a woman and a man, and how they intertwine and how they come together. So I just wanted to let you know that's where my questions are coming from.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
I'll start with incel culture. I wondered if you guys had any thoughts on why this ideology is so attractive to a certain type of person.
Jamie, do you know a girl called Katie Leonard? There she is.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's not in your age group, is she? But you do share some classes together, that's right, innit?
English.
English. Top set English. Very good. Maths and French, you're in set 2. It's good, that.
I mean, you could go into saying that people are slightly disenfranchised. My opinion is connection. I just think, you know, we've lost the art of sitting down and talking to each other. So we'd prefer to read, you know, stuff from around the world or listen to people online talking about their opinions and stuff like that. But I think the connection between, you know, back in the day, we was talking earlier about Sunday lunch, sitting around a table with your mum, your dad, your brothers, your sisters, and everyone talking about what's going on with their lives, and your parents being able to use that as a barometer as to where your thinking is going and stuff like that. Those things are lost, you know, and I think a lot of the kids that are kind of falling into those traps, I call them, have grown up with social media being a bigger part of their lives than maybe their parents and maybe talking to their loved ones. So I think that's, you know, I think that's where the slope starts, I guess.
Also, just to jump on that, like I just think if you really zoom out, like we're animals, like we're tribal creatures. So of course we're constantly looking for where we fit. And of course it's happening like to our younger generation because that's when you're most vulnerable. So it's really easy to read something and go, okay, well, maybe that's me. And before you know it, you're halfway down the line and you're like, I have no idea how I got here. But I just think really, really, like, if you really, like, break it down, like, it's that. Like, we're looking for our people and it comes out of a place of fear. Like, if you want to shine a light on it, I do think there's real people underneath these horrific behaviours. Is you've got to go, it's got to come from somewhere. Like, we've all got a beating heart. And I do think behind it is fear and wanting to belong.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah. I mean, I reiterate what they both said. With respect to adolescence, I think we're trying to say there is no answer. We don't know what the answer is. But as a collective, surely we're all responsible to some extent. Do you know what I mean? And as I've said before previously, be this, you know, in the home, in school, society, community, politicians, I think we're all slightly accountable for having a look at this properly. And ultimately, the main objective of our particular piece is to create conversation and create conversation in the home.
Where is he?
Mom! Hey, he's only a kid, mate! He's a fucking house!
Okay.
Hey!
Jamie Miller.
What's going on?
The time is 6:15 a.m. and I'm arresting you on suspicion of murder.
What do you mean?
You do not have to say anything. But Mr. Miller! Mr. Miller, I will arrest you for obstruction. Please stop. Please.
Because this idea for this particular thing came from, I read an article where a young boy had stabbed a young girl to death. And then a few months later on the news, I saw that a young boy had stabbed a young girl to death. And they were at two completely opposite ends of the country. And if I'm really honest with you, it hit my heart. And the question I asked myself was, why? Why has this happened? Where are we as a society that this kind of thing is happening? And then from then, you know, before we came into production, it happened again. There was two teenagers who lured a young teenager into a park and stabbed them to death as well. Do you know what I mean? So it's not as if, and I've said this before, and I mean this in the utmost of respect, it's not as if we've created a drama on Mars, that's some fantasy story. It's truth, it's reality, it's stuff that's happening right now. And I think all we're trying to do with this piece is raise awareness and raise conversation.
Yeah, well, thank you guys. Yeah, it's It's such a weird thing to talk about because it's so meaningful and so upsetting, but it then is something that obviously needs to be spoken about, and very grateful that you've shared this. Kind of leaning into a bit more of the positive side of it, what do you think would change if we were raising boys and girls in the exact same way with the same mentality and awareness about violence towards women? What things do you think could change?
Consciousness, that's putting it into their consciousness, do you know what I mean? Realising that we're all human beings. We all have a right to exist. You know, my mum used to say to me, you're not above no one and you're not below anyone. Do you know what I mean? You treat each other equally. Personally, that's my philosophy and that's my ideology, and that's the way I was raised, hugely by my pops and by my mum predominantly. Do you know what I mean? I come from I was raised by a strong woman, and it was just my mum on her own for the first 10 years of my life. Do you know what I mean? But my grandma was a strong woman as well, and you know, the aunties in my family were very strong. You know, I'm very blessed. I have a boy and a girl, and they're both equal. Do you know what I mean? They're both equal, and I'm trying to raise them with the same moral compass that I was given. Do you know what I mean? And also their mum, their mum's a huge influence in their life, and I'm very proud of my two children. That you know, the way they carry themselves and the way they conduct themselves. But I think it's, as we try and bring with this program, it's not just the home. I think it's the school and it's the external environments as well. Do you know what I mean?
Thank you for sharing that. Erin, I wondered if I could ask you, helping boys see feminism as something that they are also involved in and just as important in is something we really try to promote. I wondered how you think boys can be encouraged into doing that and seeing themselves in feminism.
I think, in a way, it's up to us, like, to include them. Like, I think where they actions speak louder than words. Like, I think rather than just going, well, why don't you care? Actually, why don't we just bring them in? Like, rather than making them feel isolated in any way. I say this as I've got a younger brother, and I just think he would never know how to broach that conversation because you don't want to be caught out. There's a vulnerability there. So actually, I feel like it's on us to just go, hey, I was thinking about this thing. What do you think about that? Like, and just opening up the floodgates to having a conversation and letting them know that there's no judgment. Like, let's just talk about it. And yeah, for me, that's the best way to get the ball rolling, is to just go, I'd really love to hear your opinion on this, rather than keeping the sexes separate. It's going, this is what I think about. And that it can be to do with any subject matter. Like, you're watching a film, like, just go, oh my God, like, I was really into this bit on this. Like, what did you think about that bit? And I think it's just kind of going, it's that smoothing out the whole conversation and the lenses and valuing the other person's take on it. I think that's everything.
I love that. Yeah, it's like, it's no big deal.
It's no big deal. And letting them make mistakes. I think there's this weird thing we've got between girls and boys of like, oh my God, you think that? Or like, oh my God, like, let's just get rid of that. Like, there's no, of course you're going to think differently. Of course you are. Like, that's a given. But let's celebrate it rather than shine light on it and go like, you're a weirdo. Like, it's a good thing. Differences are positive things.
Definitely. Ashley, I wondered if you've ever noticed that conversations about masculinity now are different to what you may have had when you were younger, or 5 years ago, for example.
Well, yeah, I mean, majority of the time now they're quite negative because of the stuff that we see. But I'd say there's a lot of fear behind the whole male kind of toxic masculinity thing. I think a lot of it is to do with fear. And I think one of the great things we can do as men is just set the example that to be vulnerable is okay. We're talking about influences, right? We're talking about the Andrew Tates and whatever influence in young men. We can influence young men just the same by continually bombarding them with those positive messages and letting them understand that to be vulnerable, to cry, to talk to people about how you feel, to be in places, in women's spaces and be cool and stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's kind of what I try and do with my boys, is just let them understand, like, I'm willing to look like an idiot. I'm willing to be vulnerable. I'm willing to
learning as well.
Yeah. It's like everyone's learning. We're all kind of going through that process, but I think we have to kind of break the barriers of kind of what masculinity means in general, and it starts with you. It starts with you.
I think one of the greatest common denominators, if I'm honest, is to look at the women in your life. Do you know what I mean? In many aspects. Think how you would want your sister to be treated. Think how you would want your mother to be treated. Do you know what I mean? And in many ways, one of the greatest things, one of the things that gives me most joy in my life is walking past my kids' bedrooms while they're in there with their partners and hearing laughter. That, to me, that's it. Don't know why I get emotional about it. But that's my objective complete as a father. Do you know what I mean? To be able to hear the laughter come from them bedrooms with Grace and Gally and Alfie and Tamsin. Do you know what I mean? To hear that laughter on that landing, it's beautiful. It's the most beautiful thing I can hear. And for me personally, it's that kind of aspect. Look, think how you would want your sister to be treated in these situations and circumstances. Think how you would want your mother, your auntie, your nana. Do you know what I mean? We all, and it's we all come from women.
Yeah.
We can't exist without women. Do you know what I mean? So, cherish that. Yeah, that's how I look at it.